Welcome. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. At an event over the weekend showcasing investment potential in Uttar Pradesh, Union Home Minister Amit Shah praised Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath for improving law and order in the state. He also said, in the presence of top corporate leaders, that the path to achieve a $5 trillion economy for India passes through Uttar Pradesh. Now, I have no doubt that this is likely to be true. After all, it is India's most populous state and has huge potential to develop. But all talk of development comes to a naught when we look at what has happened to a young rape victim hailing from Unnao, Uttar Pradesh. This young woman accused a BJP MLA and elected representative of raping her, one Mr. Kuldeep Sengar. Her father was picked up by the police under other charges soon after and dies in police custody. Sengar, meanwhile, is behind bars, but top BJP leaders have met him there and he continues to be a member of the party. Now, on Sunday, when ground was being broken for thousands of crores of developmental projects in UP, a truck hit the car carrying the rape survivor, her aunts and her lawyer. Both her aunts have died in the accident. She's fighting for her life, as is her lawyer. After a huge uproar in the media, Sengar has been booked for intention to murder the woman who accused him of rape. Now, while the law will and must take its own course, this is one case the Yogi government should make an example of. Show no mercy towards his MLA. Change the impression that the powerful can get away with anything in Uttar Pradesh. Ensure that the rule of law exists to defend the powerless, and then, only then, will true development flow. We will be tracking this story and hope to see justice. Let's come now to the first debate on the show. The National Medical Commission Bill 2019 was passed in the Lok Sabha today and will now make its journey to the Rajya Sabha. The bill will repeal the Indian Medical Council Act 1956 and proposes an entirely new system of governing medical education and registration of practitioners in the country. The genesis comes from the widespread corruption in the Medical Council of India, and the NMC will hopefully correct this. But it has been controversial. Today, while Parliament was debating the NMC bill, thousands of medical professionals, students and members of the Indian Medical Association were protesting in the capital, saying the provisions are anti-poor and will ruin the quality of doctors in the country. So why the controversy over the bill? And does it protect the interests of patients? To speak on this, I'm joined now by Abhay Shukla, National Co-Convener of the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan, Dr. R.V. Ashokan, Secretary General of the Indian Medical Association, and I'm also speaking today with K. Sujata Rao, former Health Secretary, Government of India. Welcome to all of you. Ms. Rao, let me begin by getting your take on this new bill, which has now been passed by the Lok Sabha, and will it actually make a change? There is little doubt that a change is needed in the way medical exams are conducted in India and the way practitioners are registered.
I agree with you that it's long overdue and MCI had to be changed, and this effort to try and bring a National Medical Commission is a good one. But I'm very disturbed with some of the provisions in that act. We have been pleading with the government not to persist in that thinking, but they seem to be not at all willing to listen or consider to our views. And I would like to draw your attention to 4 objections that I have to the bill. One is the fees. They allow 50% of the fees in private medical colleges for the managements to charge whatever they want. You have to remember that the cost of producing a doctor indirectly impacts on the cost of care. And when the cost of care, whether it's met by the government, where the resources are very few, we are not showing anything, and if there is a fee for service and the people have to pay, is getting prohibitive. Already we are unable to get access, for most of the people to get access to care. So this fees is something that ought to have been controlled. It's a regressive step that this bill takes. The second is they brought in a category called community health worker. Now, what does it mean? There are no checks, balances or caveats to say how this is not abused. I mean, is it, who is this community health worker? And it says registered medical practitioner. RMP throughout the country is known as a quack. So, are you saying that by law we are going to allow quacks to prescribe medicines? I mean, this is something I can't understand. The previous draft had something like Ayush practitioners, mid-level practitioners and so on, or a community health doctor and so, and so on, those kind of categories. Now it says registered medical practitioner, and it's very, very odd construction, which I think should be changed. The third is that, there is the punishment of a doctor. Why should the government of India, why should a union minister be adjudicating on a doctor who has done unethical behavior in Hyderabad or Vijayawada or someplace? This kind of centralization of powers makes no sense to me at all. And then they have a reserve policy that the central government can give any direction to the state government, irrespective of what it is, whether it's a policy or not, and the state governments have to comply with it. That is centralizing it too much, and that's going to hit the federal principle. And I have my one last point, and that is, how does this country continue with this strange arrangement where a National Board of Examination gives an MD degree through called the DNB, and this council, this National Medical Commission, has nothing to do with the National Board of Examinations, which is a very strange situation because they're producing super specialists and must come under the purview of the NMC. Okay. So there's several inconsistencies like this, and I'm very worried about that. Yeah, I'll come in again later. These are my opening comments.
Okay, I'll come back to Ms. Sujata Rao. So there has been all-round criticism of the bill, and most of them on points that Sujata Rao has enlisted. But let me come to you, Mr. Ashokan, and get a sense why doctors are so strongly against this, especially the part about other practitioners. Now, as Sujata Rao says, no one wants quacks dispensing medicine, but this talks about a bridge course where physiotherapists, homeopathic doctors, etc. can dispense some kind of medication. Can you go into a little bit of detail why this is bothering you? And let me contextualize it about perhaps why the government wants to do it. It's because the doctor-patient ratio is so dismal in India.
I think we'll start with your last point, that doctor-patient ratio is so dismal is a myth.
Oh,
Myth, because I can anytime prove that at least every year 68,000 MBBS doctors graduate, and now in NEET they retain for post graduations. They loiter around, they are not employed anywhere, they are not wanted by public sector or private sector. So, we have at least 68,000 into 3 or 4, around at least 1.5 lakh doctors who are unemployed, frustrated and angry, or do not have a place in the society and in the profession, neither in the health structure. So, that is an important concern why the medical profession is so angry, especially the section 32, which was not there in NMC bill 2018, is a new bill. The people are not yet aware. It is not a bridge course. The bridge course was led to the states to decide, and already 3 states have started bridge courses for Ayush. That issue is out, that issue has been outsourced to the states. Now, the issue is that there are inside modern medicine levels of knowledge which are captured vertically, like pharmacy, like nursing, like even optometry who checks your eyesight.
Yes.
Physiotherapists, they are verticals inside the medical system. They are not a separate system, they are part and parcel of our system, who have some knowledge, who do not perhaps read the entire breadth of medicine, including pathology and therapeutics, without this background knowledge. Now, these half-baked quacks will or let loose to practice medicine.
Yeah, no, I get your concern. I get your concern, Dr. Ashokan.
Government has got.
Yeah, I get your concern, Dr. Ashokan, but I just want to come back to the point about the doctor-patient ratio, because I'm looking at a WHO survey.
It's not the concern.
Just 1 minute, sir. I'm looking at a WHO survey which says India has 1 doctor for every 10,189 people. Now, you are describing a situation where there are about 1.5 lakh doctors that you say don't get accepted into the system. But if you look at it a little big picture, Maybe some practitioners can be allowed to prescribe in certain cases.
I want to make a point. I want to make a point.
Yes.
The,
Yes, sir.
I want to make a point.
Yeah.
That the ratio that you used is ratio of a doctor with the people.
Yeah.
We are talking about the ratio with the patients, and that is different. That is different. And in our own country, southern states, most of them are having 1:200, 1:400, 1:500 officially. But migration of doctors is prohibited because doctor can practice in only one state. He cannot practice from one state to another. Wherever there are doctors deficiency, if the free flow of doctors are allowed, like in a market, doctors will migrate. Doctors are known to migrate. The second point that you made is that why we are agitated is that not only that we is for the profession, the parameters of health that we have built up over the past 70 years. After the board committee saying that MBBS is the basic qualification to practice, after 70 years of independence, now this government is setting the clock back to go back to not even RMPs and LMPs who are trained for 3 years or 4 years. They are going back to almost legalizing the quackery, which is letting loose to kill people in the rural area, in the marginalized sector, and it will set back our progress in the sustainable development goals by 2030.
No, that is definitely very concerning if unqualified doctors start dispensing medicine. But what is the reason this was looked at should be seen in more detail. Mr. Rao, I'll come back to you, but I just want to get an opening comment from Abhay Shukla on where he stands on this entire debate. And as we speak, the Lok Sabha has passed this bill. It now moves to the Rajya Sabha, where we'll have to see what happens. But in the current situation, there is a likelihood that this will pass as well. What do you see as the biggest concerns, Mr. Shukla?
I would say that there are 3 or 4 major concerns. The first is I agree with Sujata about the the major rise in medical education expenditure which is expected. Now 50% of the seats will be left deregulated, which is a huge number because roughly half of the medical seats in the country right now are in the private medical colleges. Of this amount, about half will be left unregulated, 50%, and already there is so much illegal and informal overcharging in the area of medical education under the name of donations, and medical students are now even paying fees of somewhere between 60 lakhs to 90 lakhs for the MBBS course, and in some places the donations are in the range of up to 50 lakhs to 1 crores. So already this is the situation. But now with completely leaving medical education fees unregulated for 50% of the seats, that is opening the way to even further privatization and inflation of the costs of medical education, which will have catastrophic consequences on the costs of healthcare, and also will completely further distort the orientation of doctors who are passing out, who will become even more commercialized and bent on recovering the huge amounts that they have spent on their medical education. So this is one negative part. The other issue is about the ethics and registration board, and which is consisting of 5 members. Actually, this is a concern which we had expressed as the Alliance of Doctors for Ethical Health Care, and we had argued that as in the case of the General Medical Council in Britain, there should be an equal representation of members from the medical profession and non-medical lay members who are drawn from social work, social activism, patients advocacy, and so on, and groups working on health rights. They should find representation at least in the ethics board, because there is a huge amount of unethical practice going on. MCI completely failed to regulate this. Even the state medical councils have been an abysmal failure, and we had expected that this NMC should at least correct that situation. But that can only be possible if the composition of the ethics board and of the ethics committee which may be formed under this board gives adequate representation to non-medical patient advocates and various kinds of other civil society and social representatives.
Yeah, but it doesn't
and
close
the third
off
point is
the
about
opportunity.
the community health provider.
Mr. Shukla, it doesn't
and
close off
have,
the opportunity. It doesn't close off the opportunity because prominent people can be nominated. So it doesn't necessarily close off the opportunity of legal practitioners who are not doctors being on the board. My simple point is that are we not?
I'm not talking about practitioners. I'm talking about civil society and representatives and lay representatives. As we see in the GMC of Britain, they have 12 members, out of which 6 are non-medical, and they are prestigious people drawn from social work and academics and other aspects of social life. So there needs to be a balanced representation, at least in the ethics committee and in the ethics board.
Okay, let me.
And the third point is about community health practitioners.
Yes.
And here I think we need to understand that the ratio of doctors to patients is adverse in rural areas, not in urban areas. In urban areas, in fact, we have almost a glut of doctors, but the problem is in rural areas. And here, the problem with what the NMC draft is, what it is proposing is of basically another set of practitioners. What we want is not practitioners, but what we need are community health workers or mid-level providers who will work entirely in the public health system under regulated conditions and which will be completely regulated by the public health system. If that is allowed, if that is the focus, then it would be acceptable.
So
but if they are left in the open market to practice as one more set of practitioners,
so I'm looking at the bill which says the board will also
Yeah.
maintain a separate national register for community health providers. It is also looking at 4 different sort of boards under the council, and they are looking at bringing prominent people into the fray as well. Sujata Rao, I want you to come in on, we've seen all the negatives, and the doctors and the medical students have been up in arms. We've enlisted the reasons. Let's talk about why the government has left these glaring lapses in that case, because there have been representations. What is the push from the government side to overhaul the system, and wasn't there a need to do so?
Well, I'm not in the government, so I really don't know why they're persisting on such suicidal policies, and I refer to suicidal in the terms of fees. That's not going to benefit the country at all in the future, and it's going to be very, very hard for government. It's letting loose a tiger, mounting a tiger which they can't dismount. So I really don't know why they're doing this. All I can say is that today it's so politicized. Almost all private medical colleges are owned by some politician or the other, and they gain hugely they gain by being able to charge any amount of money. I don't at all buy this argument that it costs 400 crores and 500 crores to set up a medical college. That's not true at all. So therefore, why are the private medical colleges being allowed to charge whatever they want? Because there's no evidence to say that you charge 1 crore rupees, the quality of the output, quality of the student coming out is far superior. There's no correlation between the fees you're charging and the outcome. Now the bill then argues saying, okay, we'll have an exit exam. But exit exam, how do you do it? Medical education is not like an IIT exam where you have what are the questions where yes and no and stuff. There has to be a skill, there has to be a viva, there has to be a patient examination. How are they going to do it? I mean, they can certainly do it, but it requires a lot of organization. And the NEET itself, we have not been able to do a good job of. So I'm a bit skeptical on this whole feeling that once you have an exit exam, quality is ensured. I don't think it's so automatic.
So quality of doctors, we've talked about, allowing quacks into the system, but quality of current doctors.
Quality education. Yes. And so what you're doing is you're making education, medical education for the rich. It's only open for those who can afford
Yeah.
to pay those kind of high fees. And as you saw, there are several data that came out where in a NEET exam, a student got 0 marks in physics and chemistry. And you know that these are foundational subjects on which you must have some sense and some knowledge. Even they could pay money and get into a private medical college.
But
So,
the problem
this
is
kind
that is
of,
already the situation. The problem is that is
extremely
already
worrying.
the situation. Ms. Rao and Mr. Ashokan wants to come in. Let me just get his view in on
Yes,
it. It's
so they
already
should
the
have looked
situation.
at that. They should have tightened that.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. So they need to work on evidence that they have before.
Yeah, Mr. Ashokan, the fact is that
Yeah.
that currently,
The
I'm
fact is-
coming to
yeah.
Mr. Ashokan, please. The fact is that currently, the idea of a medical education is restricted to the way lay people look at it. That you have to either be from a very wealthy family or in that 0.0000001% percentile who can get in without paying huge number of fees. Do you think that at the base of this, at its foundation, this bill does nothing to address that?
This bill is not only not addressing the concern,
Yeah.
it is totally privatizing. I will expand on the points that have been made. See, 2018 bill said that NMC will regulate 50% of the seats, leaving open 50% of the seats to the private managements. NMC bill 2019 says that NMC will provide guidelines for 50% of the seats. What it means is 50% of the seats are open to private management to fix a fee of their own interest, and the rest of the 50% also it is not regulated. It is only a guideline that NMC is going to provide. Right now, state governments under statute committees are fixing the fees for even the 15% of the management quota. Rest of the 85% is with the state governments to fix a fee which is reasonable. Some of the states even have 50% of the seats entirely on government fee. What exactly is going on is 36,000 of seats of the amongst 68,000 seats is going to be totally deregulated. It's not 50%. We have to read it very carefully in between the lines that it leaves open 50% totally unregulated, and the rest 50% also is not regulated. It is only that NMC is going to provide guidelines.
Yeah.
So this is total corporatization, privatization, and more.
They're going to cap the fee.
Cap?
They're going to cap it.
They are only going to give a guideline. No, read the section 30, read the section 10.
They are not capping it. No, they are not capping it.
1.I.
Yeah.
They are not capping it. They are going to provide guidelines. The guideline will be some criteria like what you have spent on the building.
They are deregulating it.
Yeah, they are not capping it. They are saying a guideline. Guideline is not mandatory.
Okay.
Guideline is not. The entire private medical education has been let loose. It is 100%. It is not 50%.
Okay. So dangerous things here. But I want to come to a very basic question.
And it ought to be more regulated.
Yeah, let me come to Abhay Shukla on a very basic question. And you know what I introduced in the beginning of the show, that where is the genesis in some sense for all of this is the kind of corruption allegations that were bogging down the previous system. That is the MCI and the way it was working. We are all agreeing that that was not the best way that things were working.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, I'm coming to Abhay Shukla.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, I'll come to you, sir. But let me just come to Abhay Shukla as well. Everyone wants to come in on the corruption question, but that was at the end. That was at the basis of all of this. Let's overhaul a system which has become riddled with corruption, which has become decrepit inside out, and which is where this has started from. It's at least promising to do something new. Mr. Shukla, would you look at it in that context? Will this solve that basic problem?
Yeah. See the root of corruption is commercialization of medical education. And the more medical education is commercialized, the more incentive there is for private medical colleges to bribe the regulators, because they are earning huge amounts from the astronomical fees. So if that was the problem, commercialization of medical education was the problem, then the route to follow would have been to decommercialize medical education, to set up more public medical colleges, to regulate the fees in private medical colleges much more strictly. But what this bill is doing is the opposite. It is actually further deregulating fees in private medical colleges, opening the way to much more, astronomical fees being charged from at least 50% of the students. And when there is that kind of a vicious cycle where students are paying 50 lakhs, 1 crores, in some cases even more than that, for their medical education, then bribing the regulators becomes even easier for the private medical colleges. So I suspect that the powerful lobby of private medical colleges, which, as we have noted, many of which are supported by MPs and politicians.
Absolutely.
As I understand, 80 MPs in the last parliament had links with private medical colleges, and so in many states that is the situation. So that is the lobby which perhaps has been more influential, whereas the public health lobby or even the lobby of medical practitioners has not been that influential in influencing the bill. And also the composition of the commission, that also has been made heavily tilted towards the bureaucracy, without adequate representation either to elected doctors, representatives, or even to civil society, which both need a larger representation in the commission itself.
One of the reasons for that was because of the corruption that elected doctors were bringing to the system. I'm just going to get a quick word from Sujata Rao and then Mr. Ashokan. First, Ms. Sujata Rao. Yes, ma'am.
No, I just wanted to say what Abhay just said, that's an important thing. I mean, I'm a bureaucrat, so I should be very happy that bureaucracy is going to be now dominating the medical education system. But it doesn't happen like that. And there very little representation from doctors' associations, and doctors think is not a very good thing. And ultimately, who are the people who are going to be there? You can't have a perfect law. No law is perfect. It's the implementation of that law. What is your niyat? What are you going to get out of it? Are you really committed to the welfare and health of the people? What is your loyalty? I mean, that is very important. And it's a shameful fact. I mean, why did MCI get so riddled with corruption? It was only 1 or 2 individuals who corrupted the whole system, and everyone just watched. The Supreme Court, the Parliament, everyone just watched how they were able to distort the entire medical education system. And so if those people come back again, because the nomination powers in most of these boards of the central government are so extensive that you have a bunch of bureaucrats, that's okay, but the nominated members are also in the power of the government. So if they want their favored ones who ruled the roost in the MCI back again in a new avatar, I don't see why this whole drama is being played out. And I'm extremely concerned about that, because the nominations are being done by the government, not by a autonomous body like the UPSC or any other third party.
No,
it is again the same
government
chief secretaries and cabinet secretaries and all who.
No, it's complete government control.
Completely under government control, which means it's the central government to individuals.
Okay, but then so, what does it do for corruption? It still comes back to the question of what it does for corruption, because the government stated purpose is to cut
I
and
don't
weed
think
out
this
corruption.
bill is going to reduce any corruption.
Mr. Ashokan, let me get
about it.
Yeah, let me get his view on that, because the MCI had to be rehauled. It had become a corrupt, decrepit body. Can this new council do that?
You're asking me? No.
Yes, Mr. Ashokan. Mr.
No
Ashokan.
way.
I
Mr.
have a
Ashokan,
point
corruption
which you
is going
can
to be
verify.
reduced at all.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. If corruption is the yardstick, I want to make a point that from 2001 to 2019, in these 18 years, the medical fraternity through election has been controlling Medical Council of India only for 3.5 years. You can verify this statement. For 14.5 years, there has been a oversight committee, a board of governors, or even a soldier who has been put on Medical Council of India to control the Medical Council of India, who is totally not qualified to do so. You can verify that 14.5 years of these 18 years, Medical Council of India has been under one sort of a control, oversight or BOG or anybody, and the elected medical fraternity has controlled it only for 3.5 years. If that is so, what portion of the corruption should be apportioned to those 14.5 years?
Okay.
It is we suffer a perception problem in this. Yeah, we have a point. I think the society should relook into who was corrupt, who sanctioned medical colleges. There was a set of medical colleges, 30, the elected fraternity gave no to 68 medical colleges.
Yeah.
And after that, when the BOG came in, they the oversight committee came. 38 medical colleges were given
I'll
okay.
have to wrap this, yes.
Out of which today the court
Sanctioned.
in the court has yes.
Just finish your point quickly, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying that out of the 38 sanctioned one, 36 were closed.
Yeah.
And all the students were transferred to government medical colleges. This was under the oversight committee, not under the elected medical fraternity.
Okay, so the oversight committees have failed
You're
in
right.
the past. The medical fraternity has also failed in parts in the past. Will there be a new system? That's the very least that we can expect and hope for. I want to thank all of you for joining us on the show, and here's an open invitation to Dr. Harshvardhan, who has pushed the bill today. Please come on the show, explain your side of the story and why you think this is a good idea when so many from the medical fraternity are dead set against it. We'll take a very short break here on India Development Debate, but when we come back, we have something special for you. I had the chance over this weekend to catch up with some very successful entrepreneurs at IIM Bangalore, and they answered questions about their secret to success. Don't miss that conversation. It's coming right up.